Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 5 of What If Deku Date Momo Yaoyorozu. If you notice some errors or some missing parts in the video, please tell me in the comment down below. Hope you'll enjoy the video. Izuku always hated lying. Mostly due to the fact that he was raised to believe it was the wrong thing to do in most situations. Partially due to the fact that he was utterly terrible at it. Which means there was no way that he was going to be able to lie to Yaoyorozu about what happened in the bookstore. But he had to at least alter the truth in some way. At least they were alone, well mostly. They were sitting in a small cozy family-owned restaurant. It was down the same street as the bookstore. Luckily, lunch hour was over hours ago, so the place was empty save for a couple tables of old folks. Momo guided them to a corner booth in an empty part of the dining area. The parts of the booth sticking out from the wall had wood coming up out of the top and up into the ceiling. It was essentially a very small diamond room with an opening. It was a nice little place. Maroon walls with wood flooring, leather booths, dim lighting, but the sun came through the front windows. There was a large open window where people could watch the chefs cook food. Izuku would have really enjoyed it here if it wasn't for the fact that he felt like dying at the moment. He even saw they had katsudon as a special today, but he figured he'd probably throw it up. Momo was ordering their drinks. She had been taking charge the whole time because Izuku had been trying to form some kind of story to tell her. The waitress brought their lavender tea, and Momo sent her off telling her they'll call her over when they are ready to order. This is the part where Midoriya figured the deafening awkward silence would kick in, but Momo had other ideas. Are you okay? Midoriya looked up to Yaoyorozu. She had taken off her school jacket, leaving her in a long white button-up. She had legit concern on her face, leaning toward him across the table. I know that wasn't pleasant for you. I'm so sorry for taking us in there. If I had known, I swear no. No, don't blame yourself. It wasn't your fault, and it's not like you or anyone else for that matter would have known. Yaoyorozu still felt guilty for it. For more than just one reason. It's just that it shouldn't have happened to begin with, but it shouldn't have been me. I shouldn't be the one to learn all of that. Uraraka and Iida deserve that knowledge far more than I do. I'm just invading your privacy. I'm actually kinda glad it was you. I'm not happy it happened, but I am sort of relieved that you're the first one. Once again today, the creation quirk user was confused. Why on earth would I be the one you want to hear that? Iida and Uraraka have known you since the start of school, and you and I have barely known each other for 3 days. Well, Uraraka and Iida are great, but I feel like they would have made a big deal out of it. It is a big deal. Maybe, but as much as Iida preaches to the class to be quiet and calm, he's usually the exact opposite. And Uraraka can be pretty intense and protective sometimes. You were far calmer than I was, or those two would have been. I didn't need someone trying to protect me there, I needed someone to keep things from escalating. So, thank you for that. Yaoyorozu gave a small smile to Midoriya, but began to grow a sad expression onto her face. I should have known. Izuku scrunched up his face in confusion. Know what? Yaoyorozu started tugging and twirling her front bang and spoke. I've read hundreds of books about the human body over the years. Mostly for my work, but I grew an interest over time. Eventually, my reading led from the body to the brain and the effects things have on it, like trauma. I always wondered why you flinched at everything, or why seemed to have no idea what to do when surrounded by people. Even when said people liked you, you seem to distance yourself from the crowd, you compact your shoulders and put your head down a lot. You are always anxious. Stuttering can be caused by anxiety too. Even when you helped me at the festival, you put yourself down. She thought back to that day, the words you spoke to her. I mean, I'm not all that much. Besides my body-destroying quirk, I'm as plain as they come. And with how explosive Bakugo can be, and the standard treatment of quirkless in society, I can only assume that your treatment during middle school was anything but mild. Midoriya's silence was all she needed for an answer. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but I'd be honored to be the one you trust with this knowledge and to help you with this like you helped me. And don't think I'm only doing this to repay you. Believe it or not, Midoriya, I and everyone else cares about you. I believe you might feel better having someone help carry this weight. Midoriya looked down to his lap, unsure of what to do. This was stuff he hadn't even told All Might or his mom. They only knew some vague stuff about it. For all his mom knew, the bullying was a one-time thing. She probably thought those calls to the parents solved the problems. In reality, it just made Kaken and his lackeys angrier. So from that day forward, Midoriya never told a single soul anything that ever happened to him, as some kind of weak, ironic self-preservation system. He felt like the most tightly packed gas tank, his pressure was at an all-time high. With school, one for all, living up to All Might, and the past 10 minutes, maybe it was time. It was way too early to reveal than he was comfortable with, but maybe doing this now would help him. She really seems to care about me. It's only been a few days, and yet I feel like I've known her as long as Uraraka and Iida. I still can't believe she has a low opinion of herself. Okay. Yaoyorozu's smile spread open. Hold on, just 1 second. She got up, turned around, and began unbuttoning the bottom half of her shirt. Midoriya jumped in his seat and covered his eyes, his face burning up. What are you doing? Just a couple more seconds, and done. You can look. Midoriya slowly looked over his hands and saw Momo, fully buttoned up, with an odd-looking blanket and 2 stick-on hooks. She put the hooks up high on the booth walls. She then hooked the thick blanket up, closing off the rest of the restaurant from their table. Enclosing their booth for privacy. It's a sound absorption sheet. The most anyone will be able to hear from us are muffled noises now. I hope this makes you more comfortable, she asked as she sat back down. Izuku felt an odd sensation in his chest. She was going through so much effort just to help him, it made him flustered, or maybe it was the fact that she just unbuttoned her shirt in front of him. Yeah, thanks, it does actually. Now I don't exactly know where to start, so I guess I'll start 11 years ago. Momo realized that with a story starting over a decade ago, she was in for the long haul. She got comfortable, ready to listen. When I was 4, life was actually good. Me and Kaken were best friends, or at least I thought we were. In reality I was just kind of a follower. I'm not too sure how he felt back then. But we both loved heroes, especially All Might, and it was our dream to be the greatest heroes ever. Midoriya still couldn't believe he was telling someone about this. This was information he did his best to keep under lock and key, buried thousands of feet underground. My love for heroes, however, was through the roof. It was all I ever wanted to be. I didn't ever even acknowledge another thought. I would create hero names for myself, and I would try to guess what quirk I would have. But my mom and I went to the Get Quirk evaluation test, and I know this is strange, but I was diagnosed as quirkless. But I know. My quirk was dormant until I was able to physically handle its backlash, but we didn't know that at the time. And I still had an extra joint in my pinky toe. So I was diagnosed quirkless. Please believe that. Yaoyorozu was baffled by all of this. First of all, Bakugo actually had the capability of being friendly? To you? And dormant quirks was something I have never heard of before, but it honestly makes sense. If you as you are now still break your bones when using your quirk, I don't want to imagine what would have happened if you used it when you were little. Izuku nervously chuckled. Yeah, I don't think I would be here right now. Well, I'm glad you are. Izuku smiled at that. He looked at Yaoyorozu again. She had made herself more comfortable. She had brought her legs up into her seat, her knees to her chest. She was cradling her tea in her hands close to her face. Her onyx eyes were either intently on him, or they were looking into her tea, furrowing her brow, and pursing her, trying to process the information given to her. It was cute. Midoriya was warm and comfortable in their little makeshift room. He didn't feel any more uneasiness. Yeah. Me too. Anyway, I was less than thrilled. He sighed. I was devastated. My dream was crushed right in front of me, all because of a stupid joint in my toe. That night, I asked my mom if she thought I could still be a hero. She just cried and told me that she was sorry. Midoriya was looking down at the table, following the patterns in the tablecloth. Yaoyorozu's silence spurred him to continue. When Ka-chan got his quirk, and word got around that I didn't have one, things changed. Ka-chan started to hate me, and because everyone revered him at school, that meant everyone else did too. They gave me the name Deku, meaning useless. Everyone kept telling me I couldn't be a hero, but I rejected them. That's where my journals came from. I thought they could help me be a hero without a quirk. I started analyzing heroes and their quirks. My first couple of journals were in crayon. Momo laughed. Now I can't tell if I should be sad at this story, mad at Bakugo, or gush at how cute that is. Midoriya chuckled and continued. Things took a turn for even worse when Ka-chan was beating up on a kid and I jumped in to defend him. They started hurting me instead. He and the other kids decided that it was way more fun to hurt me than anyone else, so I became the #1 target at school. Even then, I didn't let it stop me. I kept at my journals, even if no one, not even my mom, believed in me. Midoriya looked back up to Yaoyorozu. She was clenching her eyes shut in anger and disbelief. There must have been someone who believed in you. At least one friend. Honestly, Uraraka and Iida were my first friends since I was 4. Or really my first real friends. At least my first ones who actually liked me. But hey, things got better. My quirk came in during the entrance exam, after I trained my body. And now at UA, I have friends, and I'm here with you. Yaoyorozu knew it had to have been bad, but this was not even close to what she was expecting. Well, now she finally understood why Midoriya thanked her in the bookstore earlier. This was far beyond her expectations. She knew there were bits and pieces he wasn't telling her. No one went through all of that for multiple years completely alone without some psychological problems, and he rushed past his middle school years. Not even All Might could go through all of that by himself. She was not a doctor or therapist, but there was no way that anyone could go through what Izuku did without suffering from at least moderate depression, and that was low-balling it, giving it the benefit of the doubt. However, she was already pushing it enough today. If she started pushing those buttons, she might lose him for good. Another day perhaps. How are you still you? How are you still such a pure and nice person? If anyone else went through that, they would be cynical and full of hate. I lost a single battle, and I broke down. You went through all of this, and you were the one to pick me back up. You're even more amazing than I thought, Midoriya. Midoriya blushed heavily, rubbing the back of his head. I just thought that a hero wouldn't let words get to him. Thank you though. Izuku thought it best to leave out that their words did get to him a lot. But he had hurt Ka-chan's reputation in someone's eyes enough. Yaoyorozu continued, I always thought Bakugo was less than approachable, but this is despicable. I'm assuming your fight with him in the festival brought up some old memories, which lead to breaking his hands, yes? Yeah. I already feel really bad about that. Ka-chan is guilty. Why? I'm not one who believes revenge or catharsis is healthy, but he deserves what happened to him. But and why do you still call him Ka-chan? I don't think he is on friendly enough terms with you to warrant a nickname. Midoriya thought that over for a second. He knew why he still called him Ka-chan, but he knew Yaoyorozu wasn't going to like it. It's because I still somewhat view him as a friend. No matter what he did, he was always someone I looked up to. He never gave up, he was tenacious, he always worked to get what he desired, he was the spitting image of victory. Even if I hate him, I couldn't, and still can't help but admire him. Yaoyorozu just stared at him, without saying a single word. Midoriya was beginning to worry. Midoriya, I'm about to do something I do not condone, or would do on a regular basis. What? Momo suddenly created a paperback book from her leg and smacked him over the head with it. Ow. Why did he is not your friend, Midoriya? He's cruel, impolite, egotistical, and a bully. He doesn't deserve your friendship, much less your respect and admiration. Don't give him that. Midoriya rubbed his head bump. Yaoyorozu, he's not your friend, Midoriya. That's something you need to accept, or he will continue to drag you down. To you, he is Bakugo. Not Kaken or Katsuki, just Bakugo. She's right. I blinded myself for 10 years thinking I could be a quirkless hero. I can't blind myself to this too. It's going to take a while to get used to calling him Bakugo. Yaoyorozu smiled brightly at his name usage. Don't worry, I'll try to remind you. And thank you, Midoriya, for telling me all of this. I'm so happy that you trust me enough with this information. I won't tell a soul, I promise. I'm glad you stayed heroic after all of those years. If not, we wouldn't have spoken at the festival. Me too, Yaoyorozu. Midoriya smiled and relaxed his body. He felt 20 pounds light getting all of that off of his chest. He still had so much hidden, but this was enough for now. And she was happy, and her smile and bubbly attitude right now made it even more worth it. Come on, Midoriya, let's actually order food. I think we need some light-hearted conversations after that. I couldn't agree more. Yaoyorozu took down the curtain, becoming shocked when she sees that the sun has almost gone down. The restaurant empty, except for the sounds of bustling in the kitchen. We've been out for quite some time, haven't we? Midoriya looked around the restaurant. Yeah, seems like it. I understand if you want to go home. It is pretty late, so no, it's fine. We might as well have dinner while we're here. Yaoyorozu walked over to a table where a waitress was retying chopsticks together for setting tables. Excuse me. I'm so sorry for being here so long and keeping you and your staff, but my friend and I are finally ready to order. The waitress accepted, came over to their table, and took their orders. Yaoyorozu decided to go along with Izuku's choice with Katsuden with how much he praised the dish. They commenced small talk and soon evolved into full-blown discussions and light-hearted debates. Even as their meals were eaten and bills paid, they still sat in their seats. All Might Sky China too, Electric Boogaloo was awful Midoriya. How could you like that? Yaoyorozu exclaimed, laughing through her entire sentence. You can't deny it was creative. All might not be a great actor, but the fights were great. As they laughed their hearts out, the waitress came back over to their table. I know you two have paid, but if you two could just wait a little bit longer. The owners saw how cute you two were together and are making some free desserts for you. Midoriya immediately locked up, and Yaoyorozu blushed. Yaoyorozu tried to correct her. No, we're not together. We're just friends. Not if the author has anything to say about it. Excuse me? Nothing? I'll be back soon with your desserts. As confusing as that was, the two students cleared their throats and decided to ignore how often people have been mistaking them for a couple lately. So, Midoriya, you said earlier that your quirk came in during the entrance exam. So you're saying you went into the exam? Kind of. Yaoyorozu smiled and shook her head. You're always full of surprises, aren't you Midoriya? Reckless yet brave at the same time. That about fully sums you up. But, learning how to use your quirk so late in life, it must be even harder than it seems. You don't know the half of it, Midoriya muttered. I've made improvements, but like I said earlier, I've slowed myself down by switching between my arms and legs. If only I could just find a way to move my power around faster. His train of thought process was interrupted when he heard talking from the open kitchen window. He saw an old man teaching a young new employee how to cook something. It looked like their desserts. The old man started speaking. No young Tanaka, you must keep the dough a circle. That way it cooks evenly. Heat spreads throughout the entire pastry. Both sides will cook thoroughly instead of just one. Something in Midoriya's head suddenly just clicked. He will either overheat or frostbite will cover his entire body. Come on, you can't just use your arms to lift those. You'll hurt yourself. Use your whole body. Heat spreads throughout the entire pastry. Both sides will cook thoroughly instead of just one. Izuku's eyes became saucers. Yaoyorozu. Momo jumped at the quirk inheritor's outburst. What's wrong Midoriya? I'm a pastry. What? I mean I'm Yubi. Midoriya, you're scaring me. I'm frostbite. I should have listened to Iida when he wanted to more heavily enforce drug tests at school. What? No, I just hold on. Midoriya jumped out of his seat and stood with his arms out, elbows in, and his feet spread wide. His skin began to flow. I shouldn't be trying to figure out how to move my power back and forth. I shouldn't be moving it at all. Yaoyorozu saw Izuku's usual red vein like lightning slowly spread from his arms to the rest of his body. If I just spread my power evenly throughout my entire body, then I can stop the injuries and become much faster. Both watch as his red lightning switched to a more electronic cyan. Now his lightning was like an aura, spinning and sparking off of and around his body. Yaoyorozu watched in awe. Midoriya had improved his quirk in a matter of days when it takes most years to evolve their powers. Midoriya, that's incredible. Look at you. Can you move? Izuku furrowed his brow. I'm not sure. But let's find out. He got down in a running position about to take off when suddenly the waitress came back with a to-go box. You can't use your quirk in here, sir. Midoriya shot up and shut off his power. Right. Sorry. It's all right, here are your desserts. You two have a nice night. With that, the two exited the restaurant. Izuku was shaking with excitement. I have to get home and test this out. At least let me give you a ride. I called Tsuji when the bill was paid. He should be parked around here somewhere. The UA students found the limo and entered. Izuku gave Tsuji his address and off they went. The driving cabin window rolled down and Tsuji spoke. Madam, I stopped by the bookstore and picked up the books you mentioned. Taking an interest in art, I see? He lifted up book on drawing human anatomy. Yaoyorozu became confused. I didn't buy that. Oh. That's mine. Sorry, it must have gotten mixed up in your book stack. Midoriya climbed over and grabbed it. You're interested in art, Midoriya? Yaoyorozu asked curiously. Well, I have always sketched heroes into my journals with my analyses. I've only ever really done faces, so I thought I should start making the body. Really? You should let me see it sometime. Midoriya scratched his cheek. I haven't made my entry of you yet, so I'll start on that tomorrow. Tsuji spoke up again. Pardon me, madam, but we're here. Both students looked out of the window to see Izuku's apartment building. Both got out of the limousine and stood in front next to it. Midoriya, today turned out to be far more than I had signed up for, but in a good way. Again, I won't tell a soul about anything from today. Thank you so much for everything. Let's do it again sometime. After internships? Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe next time everyone else can actually come. Oh, yeah. Yaoyorozu didn't know why, but she felt a little disappointed at the thought of others coming along. Today felt special. Like it was meant for them to do, and only them. Well, good night Yaoyorozu. Yaoyorozu smiled warmly and hugged Midoriya. Good night Midoriya. She got back into her limo and drove off. Midoriya inhaled and exhaled deeply, processing the day that just happened. He headed up to his apartment and opened the door. Mom. I'm home. I'm sorry I was later than I said, Mom? He had walked into the living room to see his mom looking out of the window in silence, tears pouring down her face. Mom, what's wrong? Did he then realized something? The window she was looking out of was facing where he arrived in Yaoyorozu's limo, so that means she saw. Oh. Inko shot from the window and collided into Izuku. My baby has a girlfriend. A phone call is here. A phone call is here. A phone call is here. A phone. Toshinori fumbled his hand out from under the covers to his bedside table. Finally grabbing his phone, he squinted at it in the darkness. He looks to see the contact, to be the only person who would call him at this hour. Click hello young Midori All Might. Ah. Geez kid, not so loud. It's 1 in the morning. Sorry, but I just really needed to call you, because you see today I went out with Yaoyorozu, but not a date, because that would be weird right, but anyway we were in a restaurant, and then I thought about frostbite and pastries and bullies, and then Toshinori still wondered how his young successor sometimes didn't need to breathe or forgets what punctuation is. He was tired and very unamused by this conversation at the moment. Not that he wasn't happy Midoriya was making friends or anything, but sleep. Sleep. He wants to sleep. Okay. First of all, breathe my boy. He heard Izuku finally inhale after all of that. Now, try again, simply and slowly. Okay. Sorry about that, I was just excited. Let me start over. All Might heard Izuku catch his breath, inhale deeply, and then. I'm a pastry. Good night young Midoriya. No wait. Sorry again. Bad choice of words. I improved on one for all again. Please. Let's meet at the beach. Toshinori then realized he wasn't getting any more sleep tonight. Dagaba Municipal Beach Park. 1:23 a.m. All Might arrived at the beach with a large styrofoam cup filled with every energy drink he could find at the local convenience store. He buried his face into his long dark gray coat and took his first step into the sand. Where is young Midoriya? Toshinori began to look around until a light caught his eye. He turned his head to see a green light coming towards him from further down the beach fast. Like, really fast. Like he should really get out of the way fast. All Might jumped back to avoid the streak of green light. Whatever it was, it stopped right in front of him and caused a small cloud of sand to shroud itself. Sorry All Might. I almost didn't see you there. Wait. Yagi's eyes widened and his jaw went slack. Young Midoriya? The sand cloud disappeared to reveal Toshinori's successor in a green shirt and black shorts, covered in green lightning. What up? How did? It's kind of a long story. Izuku took All Might's hand and helped him up. All Might patted off the sand on his clothes and coughed a bit. Cough cough, well, I'm definitely awake now. So you might as well tell your tale. And so, they sat down on a bench and Midoriya told All Might of all of the events that transpired that day. All of which leading up to his revelation. A dessert? Kid, you really need to work on your analogies, but it works I guess. You're improving so much faster than I anticipated, and it seems to lead back to young Yaoyorozu. Izuku scrunched up his face in confusion. Huh? What do you mean? Well, I'm assuming due to the time of your sudden companionship with her, that she was an inspiration to your actions as the festival. And now you figure out this what was it again? Full cowling. You learn full cowling while you are with her. She seems to be quite a good influence on you. Izuku rubbed the back of his head blushing, well she is really great. Maybe her intellect is rubbing off on me. Well, hopefully that also means quick thinking in a fight. Izuku rotated to see All Might in his buff form, bending his knees and spreading his legs apart. I want to see this, full cowling for myself. Young Midoriya, how about using me as a practice dummy? Let's prepare you for Gran Torino by doing one of his favorite practice routines. Use your new technique of yours and try to land a solid blow on me. And of course I will allow this temporary non-licensed quirk usage outside of school. Izuku smiled and charged up, green lightning flowing around him. Let's go. Sand in the eyes is a dirty move young Midoriya, All Might said back in his normal form, blinking his eyes rapidly. They were sitting down on a bench against a back landing of the beach. All Might was sporting a faint bruise on his jaw. Sorry, it worked though. Not the point, Toshinori said, picking up some sand and putting it in his successor's hair. Izuku shook that sand out and laughed. Thanks for helping me practice All Might. When I was with Yaoyorozu I almost did it inside of the restaurant. Toshinori looked at his successor's face when he thought or spoke about Yaoyorozu. He could see something that he had never seen on Izuku's face before. Happiness. True happiness. He had seen Midoriya smile and laugh and be happy, yes. But this was entirely different. This looked like a level of happiness that Izuku probably hasn't felt in many years. This made Toshinori excited for Izuku and worried. Maybe it was finally time to let him know. Young Midoriya, what are your feelings toward Yaoyorozu? Are they more than friendly? What? Well no, she is just a friend. Where did that come from? All Might put a hand on Izuku's head. Being dense about your feelings is one thing, and denying them is another. Right now my boy, you're doing both. You two just met, so there's no rush to get all lovey-dovey just yet. But there's something I should probably tell you. Midoriya, choosing to ignore the first 3 sentences of that, turned his head towards his mentor. Young Midoriya, you have a lot of trust in young Yaoyorozu, and from what I can see, she will begin to be a major part of your life. Which in turn means that you will one day want to tell her about One for All. Romance as a hero can be a tricky situation. One for All by no means makes it any easier. But All Might, me and Yaoyorozu, let's just call it hypothetical. Say you two did want to become romantically involved, you will want to tell her our secret. Especially since you are so honest, you won't want to hide anything from her. Well, there is a bit more danger to others knowing than I first let on. Others might try and go after them, yes, but there is someone specific I think it's time you know about. All Might looked around to make sure they were absolutely alone, and then sighed. His name is All for One. When Inko was told years ago that being a mother gives you a 6th sense, she just laughed. But having Izuku Midoriya for a son proved her wrong. Nearly every second of the day she had some random feeling that something was wrong. It usually involved Izuku. And waking up at 1 in the morning with a tingle in your brain definitely gave off a red flag. She tiredly shuffled down the hall to Izuku's room to see the door halfway open. She peeked inside to see him gone, his bed untouched. Eyes whitening in panic, she rushed to the front door, seeing his red shoes gone. He took his shoes, so he left on his own volition. Not kidnapped, good sign. Snuck out in the middle of the night? Bad sign. Inko immediately grabbed her phone and rushed out the door. So, I have to fight All for One someday? And he might kill and/or capture Yaoyorozu or anyone else if I told them about One for All. Possibly. I'm sorry my boy. He's one of the reasons I never found love myself. I was always too terrified. Izuku was at a complete loss. This always happens. Once his life starts to get better, the universe decides to push him down once again. I finally get a really good grip on my quirk and have a girl I could probably, like. And now that quirk might get me, and said girl killed. Just perfect. Sigh, it's not like she would ever like me back anyway, if I even like her like that. Feelings suck. This can't get any worse. Wait. You're never supposed to say that. I take it back. Izuku Midoriya. Crap. All Might and Izuku turned to see an angry bed-frazzled mother stomp down the steps onto the beach. It was always a rare sight to see Inko, the sweet and lovely lady, angry at anything. It was especially rare to see her angry at her pride and joy Izuku. In fact, it quite possibly has never happened before. She could be stern maybe, but angry no. So such a rare thing was utterly terrifying. All Might, I could use a little. Izuku turned to see All Might already halfway down the beach running away. Help. Izuku turned to accept his fate. It is 2 in the morning, and you're sneaking out. You have school tomorrow. Do you know what could have happened to you? Do you know how many villains could have attacked you? And who is this man that you're meeting? All Might was suddenly right back next to Izuku. Midoriya looked past All Might to a trail where his feet dragged in the sand. Did you just use your quirk to drag him back? I thought it was just small objects. He is a very thin man, and I am very angry. Now are you going to answer me, young man? Well, you see, I called him out here. Both Midoriyas turned their heads to All Might. It was me. Young Midoriya had a breakthrough with his quirk, and I felt it couldn't wait. I'm very sorry for the inconvenience. All Might bowed down in front of Inko. And who are you exactly? All Might rose back up and extended his hand. My name is Toshinori Yagi. I work at All Might's agency, and due to their similar quirks, All Might asked me to personally train and keep an eye on young Midoriya whenever he's not at school. I'm used to quirks like theirs. I know it was foolish of me to call him here at such an hour, but every breakthrough that helps Midoriya stop breaking his bones is quite exciting to me. Inko shook Toshinori's hand. She still had a questioning look on her face. Nice to meet you, I'm Inko Midoriya. Thank you for taking the fall for my son, but he's still in trouble. How did you know it was a lie? My son is sweating profusely trying to keep his mouth shut. Usually that means he's trying to stop himself from telling the truth. Both adults turned to watch Izuku with his lips sucked in, eyes wide, and sweat pouring down his face. Young Midoriya, you're so bad at lying. Besides, my son is the only person in the world who would wake someone up this early for a quirk. Inko had mellowed out by now. It was far too early for her body to stay mad. Izuku still had a question on his mind. Mom? How exactly did you find us? I have a put tracker in your phone. What? But why did you? Midoriya thought back to everything that has happened to him in the past year. Actually, that's a good idea. Speaking of phones, your punishment is that you don't get said device back until you go on your internship. But mom, what if honey, I'm sure your girlfriend could wait less than a week to text you. You'll see her at school anyway. She's not my girl. Izuku realized it would be best to just let his mom have this instead of possibly angering her again. So he just handed over his phone. Thank you. Now we need to get home. Look at me, bedhead and bathrobes isn't exactly a flattering look. All Might stepped up at this. Please, let me give you both a ride home. It's the least I can do. And might I say, Ms. Midoriya, you make bedhead and bathrobes look quite lovely. So you have nothing to worry about. Inko began to blush up a storm. Well, thank you. For both things. By the way, could I possibly get a link to that tracker you have on young Midoriya? I could really use that. My sweet boy can get himself in some messes, can't he? Both she and All Might began laughing. Izuku just stared at them in bewilderment. What the heck is happening right now? Inko wrapped her robe tighter around her and began walking off. Well, I'll wait for you two by the truck while you two clean yourselves off from sand. As Inko walked back up the stairs, Izuku turned to his mentor. What the hell was that? What was what? That? What? You and her. Who? You and mom. Whose mom? My mom. My mom? No. My mom. You have a mom? You're avoiding the conversation, aren't you? Yep. Let's head to the car. But. Fine. Izuku woke up the next morning after having dreams of his mom and All Might exchanging numbers to keep weekly reports on young Midoriya's progress. Oh wait, that wasn't a dream. His mom was happily humming and skipping around the kitchen, clearly very happy. Izuku had a feeling about what? Good morning, Izuku. I'm making pancakes today. But I'm trying to make some pancake art too. I figured with your phone gone you might like these. She placed down a pancake in front of him, what was a perfect resemblance of Yaoyorozu's face. What? But you only saw her once from afar. How did you do this? I pulled up the festival recordings. Dig in, you have to leave soon. Midoriya looked down at his Yaoyorozu pancake and took a bite. What even is my life right now? Izuku missed the Toshinori pancake Inko put on her own plate. Alright, you all have your suits and your train tickets. I better not hear of any trouble from any of the pros you intern under, got it? Now go enjoy your weeks. Class 1A all began to split up after their teacher's warning. Yaoyorozu, Izuku, Iida, and Uraraka all walking together. So Yao Momo, how's it feel to be going to work with a top 5 pro? Asked Uraraka. I must say I'm ecstatic. I can't even begin to imagine how much I can learn from Edgeshot. What about you, Midoriya? You're going to be learning from a teacher from All Might's school days. You must be excited. Midoriya brightened up immediately. Yeah. Gran Torino was even All Might's homeroom teacher. I've gotta know. Midoriya was suddenly dragged to the opposite side of their friend group. Now Yaoyorozu and him were on the left with Midoriya at the end, and Uraraka and Iida to their right. Izuku was confused on why Yaoyorozu decided to drag him to the other end, but then saw why. The group just passed Bakugo on the way to his train. If she didn't move him, Izuku would have probably brushed shoulders with him. Izuku still hasn't spoken to Kaken since the festival. Originally it was due to Bakugo taking a sudden lack of interest in him, but now it was something else. While Izuku was glad that Yaoyorozu had sworn to secrecy on his past, it seemed that she made up for it by being protective. Now Midoriya hasn't spoken to Bakugo because Yaoyorozu made sure it didn't happen. Whenever he got somewhat near them, she would drag him off or make sure their backs were turned away, making it apparent that she wanted nothing to do with the explosive blonde. Izuku had told Momo that he would stop considering Bakugo his friend, but it was a whole lot harder than expected. No matter what he did, the nickname Kaken would still slip from his mouth or mind when talking or thinking about him. There was also the problem of inspiration. Midoriya always had looked to All Might, his mom, or his friends for a spark of hope or power. But Katsuki has been that image to Izuku for just as long as All Might has. He couldn't help it. Whenever he was trying to solve something or spar in class, he always thought of what would Kaken do. Or something of that matter. Not that he told Yaoyorozu any of that. She already had a bad taste in her mouth about Bakugo as it is. He felt it best to just keep it quiet for now. For now, he would just do his best to call Kaken by his real name when she was around. Uraraka and Iida shrugged off the action as staying out of Bakugo's way as many in class did. Iida then looked up at the train sign. "This is my train. Good luck on your internships." Just as he was about to walk away, Izuku stopped him. "Iida. Wait." Izuku had been bothered by Iida's behavior in the past week. He had been different. Of course, after what happened to his brother, they expected a lot from him. But he seemed to give off an impassive vibe. He would give off extremely fake smiles once in a while, but his eyes lacked any emotions at all. Izuku knew he couldn't let Iida go off alone without saying something. "Iida, why you know that we're here for you, right? We're your friends and just know you can talk to us." All Iida did was give off another fake smile and say, "Yes. Of course." And he was off. Midoriya would later regret not trying harder to get through to Iida. To say that Kyoka Jiru was conflicted was putting it lightly. She was sitting on her train, waiting for departure. Ever since the USJ attack, she had been having strange thoughts about a certain creation quirk user. At first, it was just small things. She would look at Yaoyorozu and inwardly compliment her. Things like "she looks really nice today," or "she's so smart." It then turned into worrying about what Yaoyorozu would think of something she did. She wanted to impress her all of the time. Then it evolved into comparisons between Momo and others. She would watch someone do something and almost immediately think of how Yaoyorozu could do it better. The compliments and small little things she would notice about Momo intensified over the days and weeks, all adding up to the sports festival. Kyoka knew Yaoyorozu would be feeling bad about her loss back then. She tried to look for her, but couldn't find her anywhere. Apparently Midoriya had far better searching skills than she did. When they came back, it was weird. As far as Jiru knew, Midoriya and Yaomomo had hardly ever spoken to one another. Yet, as soon as they came back to the stands, all of a sudden they were buddy-buddy with one another. Yaoyorozu was always so concerned over him and jumping at any chance to be with him. At the time, Jiru had no idea why it made her want to vomit. But then the dreams started. She started to have vivid dreams about Momo. Many nights after the festival she would wake up in a sweat and in utter confusion. She had thought she had never really had a crush on anyone before. But after those dreams, she realized that she has never actually even looked at a guy before. She realized that every single time she gave some sort of glance or compliment at another human being, they were of the same sex. The night she made that epiphany, she didn't get a single wink of sleep for the next 36 hours. She would look at all of her band posters and look at the male players and feel absolutely nothing. But all of the female players she kept looking at. Accepting that was odd. After quirks came around, people kind of stopped caring about looks, sexuality, etc. Every single person was just too odd, and quirks affected people in many different ways, not just physical. Judgment on that kind of stuff, at least in Japan, was just thrown to the wayside. However, to realize something like that about yourself was still a big thing. It was something you needed to adjust to completely readjust how you feel in your own skin. She's still a little lost, okay, a lot lost, but she at least knows one thing. Kyoka Jiru, I'm completely infatuated with one Momo Yaoyorozu. She has to repeat that to herself multiple times a day. She felt that if she didn't, she would fall back into denying it and running away from it. Jiru wanted to just accept it now and have it hurt less later when Momo comes to her for advice, when she finally realizes she's fallen for the green mop. Kyoka knew she wasn't alone in this. She had seen the way Uraraka has been acting lately. It seemed, however, that Uraraka took the deny route. Every glance at Midoriya would send her eyes shooting off to every other direction. She runs away from him half of the time. Uraraka seemed to be trying to deny it herself. Kyoka knew she would have to talk to her at some point. She was the only one right now who really understood. Uraraka was feeling everything she was right now. Well, you know, except the gay stuff. The rocker girl looked out her window as the train began to move. She could see Midoriya and Momo talking to one another. Yaoyorozu was giggling and twirling her front bang like a cliché schoolgirl at Midoriya. Gross. Jealousy sucked. Yaoyorozu caught eyes with Jiro, smiled, and waved goodbye. Her flawless face smiling brightly at Kayaka. Kayaka waved back, stupid grin rising on her face. Fuck. A few hours later, Yamanashi Prefecture. Midoriya looked at the rundown building where apparently Gran Torino lived. Pros are usually paid really well, and if this guy taught All Might I figured he'd have some kind of facility or something. Midoriya walked up the front steps of the building and knocked on the door. Gran Torino. I'm Izuku Midoriya from the Hero course. I'm here for my internship. The door slowly crept open to reveal no one. Izuku peeked his head into the apartment to see if he could find or hear someone. He looked down and saw a large red splatter on the ground. In that pool of crimson and what seemed to be intestines was an old man in a white and yellow costume. He's dead. Suddenly Gran Torino's head shot up. Hey. He's alive. The retired pro hobbled up and Izuku went to help him. Drat. My ketchup-covered sausages. So clumsy of me to drop them. And who are you? I'm Izuku Midoriya, from the Hero course. Who? Oh no. This guy has completely lost it. I knew he'd be old, but if he can't even remember he sent out his request form, or even be worried about a stranger in his house. I should tell All Might. Izuku turned around and headed for the door. I'm sorry, but I have to make a quick phone call. Put on your suit and hit me with all you got, kid. I wanna know how much you can control one for all. Midoriya was confused by the sudden change in attitude, but couldn't afford distractions. Listen. All Might doesn't have much time left, and I have to be ready to someday fight his worst enemy. I'm sorry but I can't waste my time here. I have to go. As Izuku reached for the door handle, he heard what sounded like a shot from an air cannon. He turned to see a white and yellow blur zipping around the room, launching off of multiple points. He could barely follow Gran Torino until he saw the blur come right for him. In a split second of instinct, full cowl spread throughout his body, and he slid under Gran Torino to the other side of the room. Gran Torino bounced off of the door and landed on the ground. Not bad, kid. You've even already improved from the sports festival. Maybe Toshinori had good judgment for once. Now out on your costume so I can really come at you. At this point, Midoriya was completely lost. Everything was moving so fast he could hardly keep up. But with the look in Gran Torino's eyes, Midoriya figured it would be best to do as he was told. He opened up his suitcase and put on her new costume. Black accents, a metal mouthguard, upgraded padding, gloves, etc. The support course really outdid themselves this time. This looks great. Midoriya turned back to Gran Torino. Nice costume. Now you definitely know how to regulate one for all, but what's your limit you can use? Toshinori was able to pick it up instantly, but you clearly can't. I can use 5% of my quirk without hurting myself. 5%? If you just learned how to control your power I'd accept that, but you seemed pretty practiced with your new skills. Is 5% really how high you can go without feeling any pain? Well, Midoriya stopped for a second and thought. I've never actually tried to go past 5% besides my full power. It was either 5% or 100%, he had never actually tried in between. I've never actually gone beyond 5%, except for my all-out hits. Wait, so you're telling me that you just assumed 5% was your maximum? Who even told you 5 was your max? Midoriya rubbed the back of his head. Well, it was All Might. Stop. Don't finish that. Toshinori still can't teach to save his life, can he? I guess it's my job now. Charge up 5%. Izuku bent his knees and cocked his arms to his side. 5%. Full cowling. His green lightning arced around him, his skin glowing near white. Good. Now try to go just a little bit higher, just 6%. Izuku lifted his power just a tad higher and he felt fine. Whoa. Now higher. Izuku went to 7% and felt normal. Higher. He went to 8% and started to feel tingly. Higher. Izuku hit 9% and his body started to sting. I think this is it. When I hit 9% my body starts to hurt. Gran Torino chuckled, still a pretty low percent, but it could make a major difference in a fight. Now, why do you think you never tried to go past your limit? Well, I guess I just never thought about it. After All Might said that Midoriya really needed to learn why old people like to hit him. First of all, stop trying to imitate Toshinori. Not everything he says is law or fact. Be your own hero, or you're gonna go nowhere. Second, what I was looking for is your lack of confidence. Midoriya raised an eyebrow at that. What do you mean? I can see it in your body language, newbie. Always looking down, terrible posture, shoulders tightly up. You basically painted the entire picture for me. You didn't believe in yourself, so you figured you couldn't do any better than 5%. Don't underestimate yourself. Toshinori may be a bit of a dunderhead at times, but he has to have chosen you for a reason. Midoriya couldn't exactly say he was wrong. Looking back, whenever he thought about his power limit, he was always disappointed in himself that he couldn't use more power. But he never actually tried to go past 5%. He had spent so much time wallowing in his own self-disappointment that he never even thought that he could do better. All Might would be so disappointed if he knew. I've wasted so much time feeling sorry for myself when I could have been doing so much more. What would Yaoyorozu think? What's wrong with me? I'm so stupid. Stop. You're doing it again. And now you're muttering about it too. Right. Crap, I'm sorry. Gran Torino sighed, geez newbie, can you not even think of one single positive thought about yourself? I don't who Yaoyorozu is, but if they make you more positive then keep thinking about we'll work on that later. For now, let's see how you handle your new power. You ready newbie? Midoriya closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. He engraved into his mind that he wouldn't disappoint All Might, his mom, Yaoyorozu, or himself again. He needed to get a grip, or else he would fail at being All Might's successor. He charged himself up to 8%, already feeling the difference in power. His eyes lit up, his Saiyan lightning more intense than before. Come at me. Same time, Tokyo. Edgeshot Hero Agency. Yaoyorozu was in the elevator to the top floor of Edgeshot's agency. She was almost shaking with anticipation. She was actually going to prove herself to a top pro. So many teachings she can learn from. The doors opened, ready to guide her to her future. Of a kunai being thrown at her face. She yelped and ducked down, the kunai embedding itself into the elevator wall. She looked back into the room to see a cloaked figure charging at her, katana at the ready. Yaoyorozu dived rolled away from the swing, but the assailant kept swinging. She was only just managing to dodge. Yaoyorozu created a shield when she ran out of room to run, but the figure kicked her shield, knocking her to the ground. Backed against a wall, her mind stopped. What do I do? What do I create? I can't think what I do. It was too late. The cloaked figure pinned her, their foot to her neck, and then slashed down, stopping millimeters from her face. It seems you have more to learn than I thought. Yaoyorozu opened her eyes. They removed their cloak to reveal the pro hero, Edgeshot. He sheathed his katana and helped her up. Alright, come on. Let's go have some tea. With that, he walked away like nothing ever happened. Yaoyorozu was standing still, completely frazzled. What was that? Please, no screaming in the dojo. All will be explained. Please follow me. Momo shakily followed Edgeshot into another room with a classic Japanese-style sitting area. They sat down on cushions across from one another. Edgeshot spoke as he poured the tea. Now, I'm sure you are wondering why I attacked you. Well, it actually relates to why I decided to recruit you. Your performance in the festival. But I didn't perform well at all. Exactly. Now Momo was really confused. Someone wanted to recruit her because she was bad? Edgeshot gave her tea and elaborated. What I saw out there was a girl with mountains of amazing potential. But she cracked under pressure. I attacked you to see what you would do in a sudden crisis situation. Clearly it didn't pan out too well, and you have more to learn than I thought. You want to help me? Well, I am a pro hero after all. It's kind of what I do. Now from your grades I can tell you are a smart girl. Tell me, do you know what a shinobi is? Well yes, you are one. A shinobi is a ninja. Edgeshot stood up and began to pace in front of her. Correct. But a shinobi is much more than someone who can hide in the shadows and use a sword, even though that is really cool. Edgeshot pulled out a small kunai and tossed it above his head. Momo gasped and tried to grab at it, but Edgeshot just let it fall and miss his body by mere inches. A shinobi is mentally disciplined for panic. No matter the stakes, the pressure, or the foe, a shinobi never panics. For if they panic, they have already lost. If they panic, everything they protect will be lost. They must keep a level head at all times. Even at death's door. That is your first lesson for the day. But I can't just learn how to do that in a day, or even a week. Well no, you can't. But we'll make a start. Follow me. The two walked over to a large sliding door and opened it to reveal an old-style dojo. Deadshot walked over to a shelf and pulled off a box. He opened it to reveal a 24 sets of silver shuriken. Stand up against that wall over there, Miss Yaoyorozu. Momo did what she was told and put her back to the wall. I'm going to throw these around you. I want you to know I am not going to hit you. You need to first lessen your fear against something you know won't hurt you. It's human nature to fear and flinch at dangerous things, even if you know you are safe. You need to stay level-headed at this, or you won't be able to keep calm in real-life attacks. Now slowly breath, in and out. Don't focus on the shuriken. Only focus on me. Know that I won't hurt you. Deadshot brought back his arm, ready to throw. But then he really looked at Yaoyorozu. She was clearly breathing very unevenly and fast. She was sweating profusely, eyes closed, and shaking. Maybe he needed another approach. He stood back up and sighed. Have you ever heard the story of the one-armed wolf? Momo opened one eye. No. There was once a great story of a shinobi named Wolf who lost his arm protecting the prince of his land. When the prince was kidnapped after his failure, he gained a prosthetic arm, and he fought through countless samurai, mythical creatures, and gods just to get the prince back and fulfill their mission. No matter what Wolf fought, he never panicked, or shied away, or felt fear. For he knew he couldn't let the one he cared for down. Wow. Is any of that based on a true story? No. But it was a kick-ass video game. Momo felt a little disappointed at that. But anyway, maybe that's what you need. Who do you see when you want to feel confident? Who spurs you forward more than anyone? Who do you want to protect? Yaoyorozu thought for a moment. She figured her parents or maybe Kayaka would come to mind. But all she could envision was emerald eyes, greenish-black hair, and freckles. Do you have them in mind? Yes. Deadshot pulled back his arm. Good. Now stay still. Momo steeled herself, and Deadshot threw. Same time, Kamino Ward. Kurogiri, send our hopefully new friend a message. I think it's time we have a little talk with the hero killer. Right away, Shigaraki. That is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. And please comment down below what you guys want to see next. I'll see you in the next video.